guys, it's Stacy here with another video for you. As you can see, I'm sitting today in the park because it's such a beautiful day. Again, it's one of my favorite parks, and you might be hearing a lot of noise coming from the cars because there's a lot of cars passing by. So I just found this nice spot because today I would like to give you an overview of these Canon EOS M6. I've been using this camera for almost, let's say, maybe 4 weeks. Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks. And although I don't use it every single day, but I've done a couple of videos on it, reviewing the camera, testing a couple of things, also testing different lenses. For instance, today I'm using the 11 to 22 millimeter, which is a lens that I like very much, because as you can see, it's very wide, so I can cover a lot of things in my picture. I made a short list because I tend to forget a lot of things when I'm in front of the camera. Talking about the Canon EOS M6, is it worth it upgrading to this camera, especially if you're a vlogger? So I think this camera is quite a good choice. So let's go over the things that I like about this camera, because honestly, and this is really personal, it is not a perfect camera, but it does have a lot of things that I like, so much so that I decided to keep it. So let's see the things that I like about this camera. First of all, it is quite a small camera, and for instance, if you're a vlogger and you will be carrying the camera around, this is a perfect solution because you can throw it in your bag and it's always there for you to use. So I love the form factor. It's a little bigger than the normal point and shoot that a lot of vloggers use, but this one offers so much more than the other point and shoot cameras. So for instance, the form factor is a great feature on this camera. The second thing is the flip up screen. And I say flip up because there are some cameras out there that they do have a flip screen, but they don't go all the way up. For instance, the Sony a6000, which is a camera that I love to bits. That camera is so amazing, but it is a pity that it does not have a flip screen that goes all the way up. So if you are filming outside and you need to see yourself and see what you are framing, how can I say, you have to master the position where you hold the camera to make sure that you are in frame. But for the vloggers, the flip up screen is very important. So the Canon EOS M6 has a flip up screen, which is another great feature. The other thing that is very positive about this camera is the mic input. Obviously, if you're outside, a lot of people want to have good sound, and the M6 does offer you that feature. So it's something that I think it's very valuable, and it's also one of the features that made me buy the camera. The fact that it's a mirrorless camera, so it allows you also to use different lenses. For instance, I bought the camera the body only, and then I decided to go, instead of the kit lens, I decided to go for the 22 millimeter 2.0, which is a fantastic lens to use in low light situations. But for vlogging, it does crop the image quite a bit, so you really have to hold the camera a little farther, you know, from your face, just to make sure that you are in frame. So this is why I decided to go ahead and buy the 11 to 22 millimeter, which is the lens that I am using right now. As you can see, it is fantastic. Right now it is in the wide shot, and if you need to you know, zoom in, then this is what it looks like, and that's when you reach the 22 millimeter. It's great. It does not give you that blurred background because the aperture goes from 4 to 5.6, whereas the other lens that I have, the prime lens, that is 22 millimeter, it is a 2.0, so that gives you a more blurred background, which I think is really beautiful. The other thing that I like is it does give you full control. Okay, so it's not, you can obviously use the camera in auto mode, but if you want to be a little more creative, you also can use the manual mode, and then you can change the aperture, you can change the shutter, and you also can change the ISO. So you don't have to rely on the decisions made by the camera, but you can use your own creativity. I think that's perfect. And last but not least, oh no, wait a minute, there is also the image quality. I think the image quality, obviously, it does depend on the type of lens that you are using, but overall, I think the image quality coming from this lens, from this camera, is quite good. I think it's on par with most DSLRs made by Canon, but again, please don't take me wrong. This is my personal opinion, so don't let my personal opinion fool you, because people have different tastes. Maybe what I might like on this camera, you might dislike. So let's be individuals here, and this is just my personal opinion. If you happen to share it, good for you. Now, the things that I don't really like about the camera. First of all is the image stabilization. The image stabilization is one of the features that made me want to buy this camera, especially because it does have an in-body image stabilization. However, it is not an optical stabilization. It's not mechanical. It is a software applied to the image. It does look like the software that you find in editing programs like iMovie or Final Cut Pro. When you have that shaky image and you decide to apply the image stabilization, and then you get that smooth result. However, it's very wobbly, that jello effect that I hate. Some people don't mind so much, but I really hate it. So this is exactly what you get from the Canon EOS M6. What I've noticed is that when you are filming yourself, for instance, in a vlogging situation, because you are filming yourself and you are in the center of the image, you tend to distract the viewer from the image stabilization going around you. But if you are filming something and you are not on frame, so you are filming something else, especially if you are walking, then you really can see the effect. For instance, if you are in a very wide place and you have, for instance, buildings all around, you can actually see that the buildings, they move, they have that jello effect, which is something that I just hate. But again, it's just a personal opinion. So some people will not be bothered by that, but I am. So it's something that I think from now on I will probably leave it off, because you do have the possibility to turn it off. So you're not really obliged to use that system, that effect. So I will probably keep it off from now on. When you are using the 11 to 22 millimeter, which is the one that I have now, this lens also has image stabilization. I thought that when combined the image stabilization from the lens to the one with the one in the camera, that the result would be great. Well, it is not. In my opinion, it's terrifying. It's horrible. So again, the image stabilization on this camera is not the best. And again, it's just my opinion. Now, when it comes to lens, Canon is really behind, for instance, Sony. Canon offers only 6 lenses to the M series, which is not that many, while Sony will offer 16 different lenses. Obviously, if you use the adapter that you can purchase for, I think, about $200, which is a lot of money, you can use other types of lens on the camera. I don't really like that option because, first of all, the other types of lenses tend to be a little heavier, and together with the adapter will turn your camera from being compact to really huge, and I don't think that's what I'm going for. So I really want to keep it as compact as possible. The other thing is the focus, the continuous focus. Although this M6 is actually using the same system as this 70D, which is amazing, which is the dual pixel continuous focus, it is great, it is amazing. But in certain tests that I did, the focus was quite slow, although it was actually focusing all the time, but it was much lower than compared to the Sony a6000, which is one of the things that I love about that camera, because the focus is so fast. It's extremely fast, and I think that Canon is really behind when it comes to that. But it still works, and I do like it, but I wish it would be a little faster. The fact that it does not offer you 4K. Okay, a lot of people are into filming 4K. I am not there yet. First of all, because 4K files are extremely big and heavy, and also they demand a powerful computer and powerful software when it comes to editing. Because I don't have that yet, so I don't miss 4K as much. It could be maybe in the future, so I'm fine with 1080p for the moment. But if you are into 4K, this is not the camera for you. I think the last thing I wanted to talk about is the movie mode. This camera allows you to shoot movies on any mode, either the genuine movie mode, or you can also go for the program mode, aperture mode, shutter mode. You can do that. However, if you are using, for instance, the movie mode, you have three options. You have the full auto. That means that the camera will choose everything for you. Then you have the full manual that lets you choose ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And then you have the time-lapse mode. So, by the way, time-lapse works quite well on this camera. I already did a test and I thought it was very nice. So this is one thing that a lot of people are implementing in their videos, and if you like time-lapse, so this camera will give you that option. And I think the last thing about this camera is obviously one of the most important is the price. This camera is not very cheap. Obviously, it's not cheap. It will cost you at least the I think the basic price with the kit lens will cost you about 950 euros, which is a lot of money. However, compared to, for instance, the Sony Mark V, which is one of the bloggers' favorites, you know, it does cost over 1,000 euros, and it does not offer you the possibility to change lens. It does not offer you the possibility to connect an external mic, but it does have the flip-up screen and does offer you the 4K video. So obviously, and the image stabilization also is very good on that camera, even though I never tried it, but I've seen a lot of videos on that, and it looks amazing. So obviously, in the end, the decision is yours. How flexible do you want to be when you have a camera, and how much you want to spend? Since Canon released the M6, they seem to have promoted the M3, which is becoming more and more popular among the vloggers because of basically the same features without the image stabilization, which is not such a big deal considering the type of IS that the M6 has. So the M3 is growing more and more popular, and it will cost you, I think, half the price. It is a great camera, although the focus is not as fast as the M6 because it does not have the dual pixel focus. But from all the movies, from all the video clips that I've seen out there, it's still a very good camera that you might want to consider. So guys, I think this is all I wanted to say about the M6. As you know, I am not much of a technical person. I do my reviews based on the way I use the camera, and some people will demand a little more from the camera than I do. But I think there's also a lot of people out there who are not as technical. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions that I have not answered in this video, please drop them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a fabulous day. Bye!